there are sectors of society, there are areas of Cardiff where there are very few gospel churches. That the inner city, some of the new estates, there are Christians living there, but they commute, they go and worship somewhere else. Go north of the M4 into the valleys, and the majority of churches are in decline, and the style is still somewhere linked in the late Victorian era, that we still sit in uncomfortable pews and expect unchurched people to come in and enjoy themselves, and it's not likely to happen. Enjoy themselves may be the wrong word. Go north of Heads of the Valley Road and you're into an almost wilderness. There are gospel churches in Brecon and Llandrindod Wells and Newtown and Aberystwyth. There's a small work in Bala. You're going a long way before you get it. You're going north of the A55 on the North Wales Coast Road before you'll hit a church which is strong enough to plant. The need. So the answer to how you do it, well, some churches have been planted on the strawberry plant model, where a runner is sent out from the parent. It can produce cloning. It can mean that the church plant is forever dependent. It's not the perfect model. New Testament model is that churches were planted from a network of teams, and that people come in to help plant. And if you're in a place like Machynlleth, well, there isn't a church within 50 miles that's going to be strong enough to plant and have a heart to plant. So that the actual gathering and New Testament teams, which is Ministry on the Move, that's why I wrote the book, is contending for a New Testament practice where Paul and Barnabas and Titus and Silas and Timothy and Epaphroditus, and there are 20 or more of these people just in Paul's team in the New Testament in a 10-15 year period, who were travelling, supporting, revisiting, nurturing, helping in a whole variety of ways, to not only to plant church, but to straighten out churches that were just dysfunctional, like Corinth. Paul sent a whole series of people. So we would want to build such a team, New Testament team, around whoever was planting or replanting in a traditional context. That we would look to these stronger churches south of the M4 and north of the A55 for resources, financial resources, teams, evangelism initiatives, whatever we can pull in, we would pull round the planter. And ideally, that not just an individual or a couple, but 3 or 4 couples. There are training programs, gospel partnerships are being floated currently for the South Wales area. In Welsh, there is such a network. We now run, in Welsh, talking the Welsh situation, Run Down, which is a year out, now a 2-year leadership training program with a degree at the end of it for Welsh-speaking people. Now, hopefully some of those will go together to plant, and if there are 3 couples with scattered Christians in an area, you can pull a nucleus together. It's one of the features of the last 10 years. Less so now because Welsh house prices have caught up, but it has been for 10-15 years true that Welsh prices were very low in comparison, and a lot of Christians, evangelical Christians, have moved into rural Wales. So that there's currently a church plant in Llanfachlin outside Welshpool, and the leadership almost entirely are made up of people who have recently moved in. Some of them, there's a lawyer from Welshpool who's part of the leadership of the church. And there are real possibilities because of that influx. Sometimes it's very English and isn't culturally sensitive, but sometimes it's just very good people who you've really, if you're a church planter and there are 2 families with children who come to you and say, hey, we've been looking for a church, you'll be thrilled to bits. So there's a whole mixture of how we do it. Waleswide seeks to do it working with networks of churches where their values are shared, where there's an agreement as to what the church will look like after 10 years, and we would try to draw in similar minded churches to give support for those church plants.